Hi Tarot Tribe, it's Ethany, and today I'm going to be talking about 5 signs that indicate that you are not ready to go pro as a tarot reader. Now, as with everything that I share, these are simply my views and what I have found in my experience. So if it doesn't resonate with you, then you can just simply take what does and leave the rest. And while I believe that the skills I'll be talking about today are essential, at the end of the day, only you can decide whether you're ready or not. If you find that one of these skills is somewhere you feel as though you're lacking or you could use some development, the good news is you can develop these skills to help round out your toolkit as a tarot reader. Now, with all that said, let's dive in. So the first sign is that you can't deliver hard news. Professional tarot readers talk about hard stuff in life, and we do quite often. People rarely go to tarot readers when things are all rainbow farts and cute puppies and lollipops and sunshine. They seek us out when they have hard choices to make, when they're at crossroads in their lives, need healing, and they're seeking understanding for what is going on. You may and probably will have to tell your clients things that they do not want to hear. I can't tell you how many times I've done love readings with the question, will he come back or will she come back? And sometimes I have to give the answer of no. And that is often not what my client wants to hear, but it's in the cards. Clear and effective communication is one of the top non-mystical or magical skills of a tarot reader. If you have a need to be liked or don't want to be seen as a bad person, you probably need to do some work around this before you go pro. Now, if you'd like to develop that skill, you can brainstorm and practice how you could possibly deliver hard news. You can ensure that you know where your boundaries are. For example, will you predict physical death or will you talk about serious health issues? And if you're not going to talk about those things, make sure you have that information on your page where people book with you. Think about the types of readings you want to do. Consider the types of discussions you might have to have, and then practice your delivery to made-up clients or a practice buddy. Talking about tough stuff gets easier the more you have to do it, but there are always going to be days and situations when it's hard. Accepting that and knowing that's going to be part of your role as a professional tarot reader will certainly help you on your journey. Now, over at ethany.com, where I have the transcription of this video, I have a bunch of recommended reading for each one of these signs. So this one, I talk about healthy boundaries, what to do when a client doesn't want to hear it, and dealing with difficult clients. The second sign that you're not ready to go pro as a tarot reader is that you're scared to talk about money. So you may be the type of person where a friend borrowed $20 off of you to get a cab or get a drink, or they just need some cash. But that was 5 months ago and they've completely forgotten about it, but it's on your mind every time you see them. But you don't want to bring up the fact that they owe you money because it makes you squirm. If you have a full-time business, if you have a full-time tarot business, healing business, Reiki business, crystal business, whatever it may be, and you want to have an income that goes with it, you need to be okay with having conversations around money. I get messages about my rates, even though I feel they're quite obviously on my page. I get people asking for free readings multiple times a day or want to do barters. But because I need to pay my bills, put food on the table, I've gotten very comfortable talking about money and having firm boundaries around money. Your rates are your rates, but your rates are not a reflection of who you are as a person or your personal worth. If someone has a problem with how you charge or for the fact that you charge at all, it's about them, not about you. There is a lot of money crap in the spiritual community, and it does stop people from being successful and thriving in their business. Lines like, it's a gift and you shouldn't charge for spiritual gifts, are just throwing that crap around and simply, I have no time for it. If that's your personal opinion and your personal outlook on life, then that's absolutely fine. You can have it, but I run a business. Tarot reading is one of my full-time gigs. Therefore, I need to be able to pay the bills. And people who usually say things around money shaming other professional readers aren't professional readers. They don't do this full time, or they want something for free, or their landlords are apparently accepting meatloaf as rental payments. I don't know what's going on there, but it's certainly not something that I take on board. Now, you don't have to be Scrooge McDuck, but everyone deserves to thrive when they work hard, and you are no different. Money is simply energy. It is also how, for now, we live in the modern world. I know for a fact that the more I've been working on my money relationships, the better my relationships with people and my business has been. Now, if you struggle with talking about money, here are some things you can do to develop that skill. Set your rates. Tell people your rates. Don't apologize. Don't justify. It might be uncomfortable at first, but that's okay. You don't need to say, my rates are $35, but this is everything I'm going to do for you for that rate. People will probably be able to find that information on your website anyway, and you do not have to justify how much you charge for a reading. Okay, number 3, you find yourself judging your clients. Now, remember how I said you're going to hear everything as a professional tarot reader? At some point, one of your clients is going to trigger you in some way. Maybe they don't share your political views, or maybe they're doing something you would never do. Maybe they're cheating on their significant other. Maybe they're being really dodgy at work to get that promotion. Maybe they're being a flat out asshole, but they are doing something that you would decide that you know is not in your moral compass. No matter what, it is not your job to judge that person. Now, I'm going to put a little preface in here saying if someone's doing something illegal, that is completely different. And if they're doing something that is criminal, like they're harming somebody in a way that is cruel and unusual, obviously that is a totally separate situation. I'm talking about when you come across someone who, especially they have different political views or they have different personal views, whether that's religious or spiritual, and you find yourself getting triggered and you judge that person for it, and then that mars a bias on your reading. You're like, oh, well, I hope I get these cards so I can tell that person off. That's what I'm kind of talking about. But it is not our job as professional tarot readers to judge people, their situation, their choices, and what they're faced with, because we've never walked a mile in their shoes and we don't know what has happened for them to end up in that situation. And that's not what we're hired to do anyway. We've been hired as professional readers to do a service. And if you're unable to put your personal biases aside and your personal judgments aside, and pause that and do the work that you've been hired to do, then maybe you need to do some spiritual work on yourself first. It's okay to recognize that you would make different choices in this situation, but holding judgment will make your client feel even more shitty about their life if they're having a difficult time. Or you're going to put extra pressure on them when they're already trying to make hard decisions in their life. You aren't Judge Judy, and she ain't a tarot reader either. We have to be able to put our egos and opinions to the side and hold a non-judgmental space for people. This is one of the marks of a true professional. And you'll find that with excellent professionals on all levels. So it's good doctors are able to say, these are the choices, but if you choose not to do this, if you choose not to have treatment, then I'm not going to sit here and give you a half an hour lecture. They may try to give you some information on why it was best to do certain treatment, but they're not going to put their personal judgments on you. Lawyers are extremely good at ensuring that they are by the book. So it's kind of working on that. This is not about me, it's about them. It's not about my personal situation, even if it may be mirrored in the reading. It is about being of service to somebody else. Anytime you feel as though you're getting stuck in a trap of, I've got so much stuff going on for myself. Remember, it's not about you. It's about the other person. And that can really help shift the energy and shift the perspective so you can get back on and do your readings. Okay, number 4, you have to look up the card meanings in books. So imagine you're going to go see a doctor and you see them pulling up WebMD to look at the symptoms that you described, or turning up to see a lawyer and they don't even know the basics of the law that they've decided to practice. You would not be very happy. Tarot readers are no different. I hear feedback from lots of people that readers in paid readings have brought out books to look things up on, or have copied and pasted things from websites and email readings. For me, that is unprofessional and an absolute no. I have a mountain of tarot books, several of them are right here, and I still love to read, but I would never, and I have never pulled out a book since going pro with my tarot readings, and that was like 20 years ago, and I've never had to pull out a book to find what the meaning of the cards are or how they interact with each other and what they mean in the context for a professional reading. If you're still looking in books or online meanings for the cards during a session, you still have your training wheels on as far as I'm concerned, and it's time to study more and then go pro later. This doesn't mean that you aren't going to have moments where you go blank. It is totally 100% okay if you have a moment in a reading where you go, you need like a couple of extra seconds to look at the cards, to think about what they mean, to engage that and have some space in that. That happens to everybody. I'm talking about if you literally have to pick up a book and be like, oh crap, what does the 4 of Swords mean again? That's what I'm talking about. So if you want to learn to develop your skill for learning the card meanings, you need to log hours giving readings so you can become familiar with seeing the cards in different scenarios, understanding their meanings at a glance. Things like, doing memory cards, all that sort of stuff. And I've got some exercises on that over on my channel as well. And while you're learning and giving readings for feedback and tips, tell people this up front and let them know that you'll be referencing books in their readings or that you are currently still learning. Don't try and hide your level of proficiency with reading the cards and try to pass yourself off as something that you are not yet. Otherwise, it will end up biting you in the ass. So I just did a post on free readings. I think they are a really good resource and a really good practice when you're learning. I do recommend doing them. If you find yourself getting stumped on one card particularly, do some extra study on that card. Spend some time with it. And I just also want to mention that I do know there is a difference between someone who reads the cards, the tarot cards, as a system of the tarot, as in pretty much the uniformed system of the 2 of Swords, meaning impasse, meaning stalemate, meaning pause, and someone reading every deck, every card differently intuitively. There is a difference between that kind of a tarot reader and an intuitive tarot reader. And you can be an intuitive reader and never have cracked open a book in your entire professional life. But I believe that you should let people know that's the type of reader that you are. For me, a tarot reader, someone who reads the system of the cards, knows the meaning of the cards. It could be they know the Thoth, it could be they know the Rider-Waite-Smith system, it could be that they know the Marseille, they could know a blend of all 3, and then they put their intuition on top of that, but they know a foundation of the cards, and that's the kind of reader that I am. Because we don't have a uniform body where it's all regulated, we can really make up our own sort of roles and our own ways of reading and our own relationship with tarot, and that is amazing. But if you want to learn to read the system of the cards and you want to know what they mean, and you're cracking open a book to learn it and to read from it in a professional reading, I don't think you're quite ready to go pro yet. And the last one is you have no real track record. So people are likely going to connect with you and trust you with their situation, usually a situation that is hitting real close to home, their energy, time, and hard-earned money, when they know that you are trustworthy and you know your stuff. This is one of the reasons, and one of the only reasons now, why I still have my Etsy store there. There's been a whole bunch of changes with Etsy and I'm not really too happy about them, but I keep it up as there are still, all the reviews are verified third-party reviews, and I keep that up for that reason only. This is also why I have been and will always be an active member in our community, and why I consistently create content. So it's showing up. It's being present, it's connecting, and it's showing people that you're going to be there, and it's giving you a good track record of trust and connection in the community. Free readings are a great idea when you're learning and building your practice, and it can also give you great feedback, and that's awesome if you have that on your Facebook page or on your Etsy or your testimonials page, or however you want to collect that. I believe you can't just do one course or read one book or do one thing that online, or you just like, oh, I've got my deck, set up shop and demand top dollar for your readings with nothing to back it up. Hey, I may be old-fashioned that way, but I certainly have not seen anyone really succeed when they have just done that and not given back to the community, or not showing that they have the reasoning and the backing to charge what they charge. So how do you develop that skill? Well, give lots and lots of free readings. Be reliable. Do what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. Ask for feedback. Show up for your community. Contribute and connect. Look for ways to improve and keep learning. And allow it to take time. Anything worth it is going to take time. So, as I mentioned, I have a bunch of recommended reading and links to my other posts over at ethany.com, where the transcription of this video is, and it's in the description below as well. So a final note for going pro as a tarot reader. There are many different ways of getting a solid client base, whether you work for yourself, from a shop, do fairs or parties. Whatever your business model is, there is a pathway to success. The one thing they all have in common is the work. You cannot expect just to put up a website or open an Etsy shop and be flooded with readings if you have no credibility or following. Anyone telling you that you can make 6 figures in 6 months as a reader is full of shit if you're just starting out. It took time to build my business. If my love for tarot didn't run deep in my DNA, and I just would not have been able to invest the time and energy and effort into it. I would not have said no to most Saturdays going out, Fridays and Saturdays going out, or working every spare time I had for years to get my business going and to where it is today. Tarot reading is an art form, and no matter how good you get, there is always going to be room for improvement, whether that is learning more about communication or people skills or the admin and marketing that comes with running a business. There is always something to learn. It really never stops being work. You have to show up, be present, and consistent. So that is what I have to say about going pro, and if you're not ready to go pro. What do you think about my list? Have I been too harsh? Any exceptions to the rules? I would love to hear what you think about going pro as a tarot reader. And as always, thank you for watching.